And now on Who's Views, a Doctor Who fan joins JT for a little chit-chat.
It's chit-chat time here on Who's Views, everybody. Nice to see you. Welcome back. And as you can see on this particular show, I'm joined by this one. It's Stephen, regular Who viewer that he is. Hiya.
Yeah, hello.
How it's lovely to see you. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. And thank you for emailing in to say, oi, JT, can I come and have a chit-chat? That's very good of you.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, you're very welcome. So the question, as you'll know, Stephen, is I always start these shows is, how did you find the Doctor?
Well, we're going back to the wilderness years now, because I was born 91. So my grandparents, my brother and our grandparents had a lot of Doctor Who VHSs. Mainly sort of John Pertwee. So I think there was a Silurian one. There was some of the Autons, and I definitely remember the Green Death with the massive slugs. That was always a good one. So I used to borrow them and watch them, loved them. I remember watching the Peter Cushing films. The Dalek movies on the telly. Got vivid memories of them. They're absolutely fantastic. Loved them. And so it was just, that was my early memories of Doctor Who. And then obviously when 2005 came, Doctor Who came back. I kind of catch the last sort of 5 minutes or so of Rose on the telly. And I was like, oh, right, that looks interesting. They said, oh, it's going to be on next week. I was like, oh, right, okay, fine, Doctor Who, right, okay. And then, as you do, as a 13-year-old, you go away and you do stuff and you kind of forget about it. As you do.
Yeah.
Which is a bit embarrassing now, as a massive Doctor Who fan. And then weeks down the line, I come across, I'm watching the telly one night, and Boomtown comes on. And I'm like, oh, that's that Doctor Who thing again. Yeah. I liked that when I was younger. Yeah, I'll check that out. And then the next week, the Daleks are coming back. So I was like, oh, right, Daleks. Yeah, I love the Daleks. And then Chris leaves. And I'm like, right, okay. David Tennant's in. And I just kind of stuck with it from then onwards. I was like, right, I'm in. That's it.
So you came back. Did you watch the Christmas Invasion?
Yeah. I was hooked. I came for the Christmas Invasion and then stuck right through David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. I struggled through because some of his writing was absolutely crap. Poor guy. But I just stuck with it because I was a Doctor Who fan and I loved Peter Capaldi. And then I got to Whittaker and then I got 5 episodes in and I gave up. As you do.
Yeah, as many did.
Yeah.
Oh dear. It's as someone who didn't watch it, doing these shows and meeting people like yourself and chatting a lot and everybody that comes into the chats, as you know, it really is, a very poorly received era, isn't it? It really, and there's so many people that scream about how popular the time was and how big it was. It wasn't at all, was it?
No, it was a complete disaster. I mean, you had some crackers with Capaldi.
Bless him.
That one with the Forest of the Night, and the one with the moon turns into an egg, and
yes.
There was just some crackers in there. But when you get to Jodie Whittaker, you're gonna get to. I was like, because obviously there was rumors around at the time. Oh, it's gonna be a woman, and I was like, right, okay. I don't know how that's gonna go. I was kind of on the fence about that. I could see it from both angles. That it might be quite cool to kind of maybe do a female version of the Doctor, but then on the other hand, I was like, but then can't you just do like Romana, like a TV show about Romana or some other female Time Lord, Time Lady? sort of thing. And because you could see in, Moffat's era, he was kind of putting in that, there was previous Time Lords that regenerated into women, and there was that unfortunate general who turned into a woman and then made that comment about testosterone or some stupid quote. I can't remember what it was exactly. But you just rolled your eyes and you're like,
you can't remember because it was terrible dialogue.
Yeah,
very lazy.
You could just
dialogue.
See it was coming. Oh yeah, there was that thing about the master was saying, "Oh, it's the future all female," and like, yeah, probably. So yeah, they got to Wimbledon, and it was announced it was Jodie Whittaker. And I was like, well, that's probably the least interesting way you could go, Mr. Chibnall. But all right. But I gave it the value of the doubt, like, that unfortunate trailer where they're smashing the glass ceiling, and I was like, oh, right, okay. First episode, that was the one with I know you've never seen it, but it's this one where this guy comes in, this alien from another planet comes to kind of track down this random dude from 2018. He's called Tim Shaw, and he's got like teeth all over his face.
Oh yes, I'm aware of this.
He takes them the teeth. Yeah, there was like too many characters. Just got really boring really fast. Second episode was dull. It was the sort of space race, which was so boring that we got to this final planet. We were trying to find the TARDIS in this episode because we didn't know what the TARDIS was. Yeah, it was just blah. The TARDIS interior was absolutely naff.
Yes, I've seen that. That was terrible design.
Oh God!
I don't know what they were doing. That's one of those things I put down to planning meetings at 3:30 in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Ridiculous. Oh, that'll do. That's fantastic. Yeah, I
never yeah. Wow, ridiculous. I mean, it's an embarrassment, really.
And then episode 3 was Rosa. I was like, right, okay. We've got generic white racist dude from the future that wants to stop black people getting out of their place, and he wants to put them back there. I was like, right, okay. You can kind of see the messaging right there. And then Ryan, who's who's a black companion, and there was Yaz, who's like an Indian lassie. And they're sitting chatting about racism in the modern day as well. Right. So you're like, right, we've got poor Bradley Walsh trying his best with whatever he's given, but it's just pointless. So that was episode 3. Episode 4 was sort of the spider one.
Yes, okay.
It's arachnids in the UK, but basically spiders in Sheffield. Basically really? In a hotel. And we've got the basic generic Trump stand-in guy.
Yeah.
American businessman, wants to run for president.
Yeah.
Bad guy. Jodie Whittaker's doctor thinks it's pretty cool to let the spiders go into this sort of safe room, which this guy has in his hotel. And they're going to run out of oxygen. So she thinks that's a great idea to get rid of the spiders. Trump stand-in guy wants to shoot this big spider, who's the last one. He shoots it, and she's like, "Oh, how could you do that?" Oh. And I thought that was more humane, just to kill it outright. If it's good, because it's got so big that it can't survive. Without it's too big, it can't survive with the oxygen left. So,
who wrote these things? Was it all Chibnall?
Mainly Chibnall, yeah. And then the last episode I did was the Pating, which is this adorable little creature that eats a spaceship.
Right.
And it's so dramatic and so up against the wall that you're so panicked by it that we're just walking around talking. Jodie's doing massive long spiels of dialogue. There's a man in it who is pregnant and is about to give birth. And we get basically a long conversation with Ryan and Yaz about Ryan's dad, who is absent fathers. I got halfway through, got so bored that I decided to switch it off, cancel the rest of the recordings, and I was like, that's it, I've done. Washing my hands of it. Like, I'm out.
So this is what, four episodes in, really, of that year?
5. That was 5.
5 episodes
5
in.
out of 10. I went
they were doing 10 episodes, were they?
10 episodes, yeah. For the first 2 seasons, and then I think the last one was 6.
I just don't understand why people find part of me is thinking that the only reason that they're so protective over that is because it's a female doctor, and because it panders to a minority audience, which is still the case with the show to this very day. That's all they seem to be doing, is just ticking boxes and hiring people who are DEI hires, to write things. And I mean, if you look at that Jodie Whittaker team, I remember seeing the announcement on the BBC News website that day when they announced her team, as it were, and I thought, yeah, tick box, tick box, tick box, tick box. And I just thought that this is going to be a massive failure.
Yeah. It was just, I think there's many problems with the Chibnall leader.
Okay.
And Mike, God love him, went through the entire thing and just continued to watch it just because it was Doctor Who. I
think there must have been some people that do that, and I think they're trying to defend it because it certainly had the Doctor Who badge and it had a police box in it. And the same as today, it's called Doctor Who. It's got a police box in it, and it's got a variation of the theme tune. That's not enough to make it Doctor Who either. You have to have the Doctor in his own show.
Yeah. I mean, the problems is that she just didn't feel like the Doctor most of the time. Like, some of the logical stuff that she was coming out with, and some of the stuff that she would say, you wouldn't. Like, I mean, if it was like Peter Capaldi or David Tennant or someone who was saying sort of long spiels of sort of technobabble, you go, right, okay. But with her, it kind of sounded like she was doing like a sort of David Tennant, sort of Matt Smith impression.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of cosplay. And it just didn't fit. I don't know what the disconnect was, whether it was the writing or whether it was her acting or whether they both were the problem.
Possibly. From what I've heard from other people, Stephen, it was both. Because I personally don't rate her as an actor at all, and I've seen her live in the show, and as I've said many times before, the scenery had more ability than she did.
Well, that's great praise.
Terrible, absolutely terrible, honestly.
Oh, I don't know. I've only ever seen her in Broadchurch, and that's like literally all I could go off.
I think that's where most people are, but playing a grieving mother over and over constantly, it's not going to stretch you much, is it really?
No, I think by like season 3, Broadchurch, Chibnall was trying to kind of push her out to do other stuff.
I didn't even watch that one. I got bored in the second one. The first one, I'll give it, its due, was very tense. It was very good. The second one, I got bored halfway through, and the third one, I didn't even bother with. Did you watch them all?
Yeah. The first one was brilliant. Second one was kind of, right, let's see where this is going. Kind of meandered round into nothingness at the end. Third one was a completely different story, but it wasn't as fantastic as it was supposed to lead to believe. Right. I think that majority of the time, Chibnall's better writing sort of crime drama, because he's wrote for like Life on Mars and he's wrote for like some other stuff, which are a lot better scripts. I just think for Doctor Who, he's kind of average at best.
Do you think there's a difference between an ability to write for a series and to produce it, or as they call it today, showrun? I hate that term. To showrun it. Do you think there's a point in saying, well, some people can do that and not the other?
I think it's probably too big of a job to be doing everything. I think you seriously need someone in the corner to say, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that this script's not up to scratch? Maybe you need to go over this quite a few more times. And I just think sometimes there's no one there to say, they're all like bowing down to you know, to Chibnall, to Moffat, to RTD, you know,
Mm.
oh my God, you're so fantastic. And like sometimes you need someone in the corner to go, this sucks. Can you please rewrite this?
I agree.
And I'm pretty sure in the Chibnall either there was quite a lot of first drafts just getting flung out there. Just do this, just do that.
Oh, really? You think
We're
so?
running out of time. Just do it, do it.
The scripts were that poor?
Oh yeah. I mean, I kept up to date because Mike was watching it, and I kept up to date with YouTube, and so like I know about like the Fugitive Doctor. I know roughly about the Timeless Child sort of story arc, but that is a massive mess that needs to be kind of cleared up. It was, I think, the Timeless Child was a good concept, but it shouldn't have been the Doctor. Yeah, no.
I've got to stop. Because I didn't watch it. I hear about it, obviously. I hear about it and I just think, well, that's a load of nonsense, and that's not what the show's about. And to go back and to take on an established decade-old show, you know, decades-old show, and then just to say we're going to recreate the character, I think that was done deliberately because Chibnall saw criticism from fans like me that were coming out saying the character is not female. It's established in the original series as it is that the character was never female. So he goes and then says, right, I'm having that. I'm gonna rectify that. I'm gonna sort that out by going back and recreating a time before the Hartnell Doctor, which is not what Doctor Who is. I mean, it's called Doctor Who. Nothing needs to be explained. And you had enough explanations through 26 years of time travel, which was basically, he was a Time Lord, he was on the run from his own people from Gallifrey. That's all you need. And you keep that, because I don't know if you've seen things like, you know, Arc of Infinity, the Three Doctors, the Deadly Assassin, even Invasion of Time. These elements where the Doctor does go back home to Gallifrey, there is still an essence of mystery about it, because nothing is really explained when he's around his own people, because they're just living in that particular moment in time, and it shouldn't be. And I just thought it was complete arrogance of people like Chibnall and even RTD and Moffat to be able to say, well, you know, we can do this because we can. This is my show now. This is what we can do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm up to date. Like I've went way back and watched all of Classic Who.
Right. Okay.
From 2005 Christmas, because everyone knew I was a massive Doctor Who fan by that point. I got like the 2006 Doctor Who annual that year.
Yeah.
And obviously inside it went back and discussed all the old Doctors.
They do it every year.
Yep. And that kind of piqued my interest. And because I remember watching John Pertwee and I was like, where does he fit in? And so I read through it all and I was like, oh, right. And that made me go and check out the BBC's website at that point, where they had all the classic seasons like listed and they had all the episodes and you could go and have a look.
I remember that on one of the original formats of the website, the early days. Yeah, I remember that.
And so that got me excited. And I was like, oh, wow, there's like, oh, there's other Doctor Who way back when. And I watched some of it. And then I was like, as soon as the DVDs, I started collecting all the DVDs. And I was like, I think the first DVD I bought was the beginning.
Oh, yeah, the box set.
First 3 stories.
Yeah. Lovely box set.
Yeah. And I devoured it. I looked at all the documentaries. I watched all the episodes, all the audio commentaries. I was like, right, I'm in. And then from then onwards, I just kept buying more and more and more. And I was like, oh.
Fab. So do you have all the DVDs now for Classic Who?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And I've started collecting all the standard edition.
The Blu-rays. Yeah. I know you're getting the standards because you've emailed me about that before, haven't you? So it's good. But it's great that, you know, you found the original series as well, even though you had that part when you were younger with the VHSs with Pertwee, and the new series is, in a way, it's done its job. Because I actually think, Stephen, I've got this theory that even the nonsense that's on now, because it's been so dire over the last 7-8 years, whatever it's been. People have been wanting Doctor Who. They've been craving some sort of Doctor Who. They need a fix of Doctor Who. And I think what they've done is they've gone back to the original 7 Doctors, 26 years of superior British television, and they've rediscovered that. Yeah, that's my personal theory. I just think people have been driven because they're not seeing the Doctor on screen. Certainly within the last two reiterations, they're going back to find him, and they're finding those original 7 Doctors.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just amazing storytelling. Like, I mean, I think that's the problem with New Who, because you look at, so I know you don't like the word classic, but
no, I call it
the
proper.
original run. We'll go with
Proper
that.
Who.
Proper Who, but from 1963 to 1989, right? But
Yeah.
all those years, there's lots of changes to the story. It's not the same, and I think this is why. This is how I would describe New Who now. It's just boring because they're still on the same sort of story. Because we started 20 years ago with no Gallifrey because it was destroyed. We're back 20 years later and it's still destroyed. We had it back and then it just disappeared again.
It's very confusing.
Yeah, and it's Last of the Time Lords again. And I think it's just creatively bankrupt. Like, there's nothing they can do. Like, they should just bring Gallifrey back, because at least it brings some more story ideas and maybe take it in a new direction rather than just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the 20 year, I mean, people, you may have heard me, Stephen. I don't believe we can call it New Who anymore. It's 20 years old. It's an old show. It's an old property. And I think there needs to be some other term for 2005 to 2025. That 20 year. I mean, it wasn't even 20 years worth of seasons when you think about it either. The show's been around for 20 years. There's no 20 seasons. I think, what's this, 13 we're on now, or 14 or something, certainly?
15's coming up.
Is it 15? See, I don't care. I've lost interest. But, there must be some other term to call it apart from, PAP. I don't know. But, yeah, it's sad to hear that, because it started so well. But when you look at the whole element of all these series, there are, in my opinion, a lot of issues, a lot of problems, and Gallifrey being destroyed is one of them.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was fair enough to do it when they came back in 2005. And then when they brought it back to Gallifrey back in the 50th anniversary, I thought that's a good idea. And then they kind of teased it with Capaldi a little bit. And then Chibnall comes in and just destroys it again. And then we're back to square one again. And
it's even back before that. It's back for the end of time.
Oh, yeah, briefly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Rassilon even comes back from that. And I don't think it's ever explained properly how that works, how all these Time Lords are suddenly whizzing around, even though some of them have been dead for millennia, like Rassilon.
Yeah.
I just think, again, it's the problem. I don't know what you think about this. So let me know what you think. I think it's a problem when you actually allow fans to run a show such as Doctor Who, because when you look at some of the stuff that RTD, Moffat, and Chibnall have churned out, and RTD again on his second stint, it seems to me like very bad Virgin New Adventures.
Yeah, I think it started out all right, and then I think as they started to get their egos pumping, it kind of fell off a cliff. Even by the end of Russell's first era, you could start to see the sort of the flaw in his writing. Especially by
you see, they're getting, he's confident as well. They're all getting a little bit cocky for my liking by the end of that. I was glad they were all going, to be honest. Tim, Collinson, Gardner, the lot. I was glad they were all going, because I thought you need fresh blood in now, because this lot are getting a bit too up themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Especially with the end of season 3, like, in the season 4 finale, when it just got wrapped up really, really quickly, you can kind of start to see that. Okay. The Moffat was all right with season 5. He kind of jumped the gun a little bit with season 6.
Series 5, do you not think Series 5 is very RTD in style, though? I mean, it followed the same sort of format, and there was a very convoluted ending towards it as well, wasn't there?
Yeah. I kind of forgive season 5 a little bit. Where season 6 falls apart is where the Doctor dies, and it's this massive mystery, and then it kind of gets resolved.
Of course, silence.
Yeah. It kind of gets resolved kind of weirdly at the end, because he was in a sort of a false body, sort of
It was a robot, wasn't it?
Yeah. I can't really remember. It's been a while
No, I
since.
can't
I
either.
don't really go back to season 6 that much, to be honest.
I don't either. I mean, it's for me. That's where after series 6 is where it all starts becoming one big blur for me, because I was starting to lose. And I mean, I'm like, you guys, I'm watching this because it's Doctor Who on the label, and I'm a fan, and I wanted to support it, and I wanted to like it. But I have to be honest, from series 6 onwards, I really started to lose patience with it and start interested, which is such a shame, because I really liked Matt Smith's interpretation. But this is where I saw the quality of the scripts becoming a little bit not what I wanted from Doctor Who.
Yeah, I think Moffat tried to be too clever with it. With the
Totally.
timey-wiminess.
He believed his own press, that one, I tell you.
Yeah. Like, I think if you're going to write something, you've got to kind of start at the end and work your way backwards and figure out how it all works out. And I think Moffat just came up with a great idea, which was like a massive hook at the beginning, which was killing the Doctor. And then he kind of figured, how do I resolve this? And he kind of wormed his way out of it somehow. Season 7 was like the movie one, which was like a movie every episode.
Do you not think everything had been like that before? That was just a really bad promotion, as far as I'm concerned, to get some nice artwork out, and it was lovely artwork. That's all I think it was about. Because if you look at some of the episodes that had followed it in the previous 6 series, some of them were sort of epic movie style type things. So when that was coming out, I mean, what was that one? Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, please do me a favor.
Yeah, I can't even remember most of that. That's just got deleted
But
from my mind.
It didn't help, Stephen, that they split it in 2 as well.
So yeah, season 7 was
meh.
It was meh. The 50th was, I think, 50th was a high point. 50th anniversary was pretty good. Matt Smith leaving was okay. It was all right. Peter Capaldi was interesting in his first season. We kind of went into a sort of a darker, older Doctor, which I thought I was into. I was pretty interested in that and see where we were gonna go.
Yeah.
It kind of got a wee bit dark towards the end. The Mummy on the Orient Express was actually pretty cool. I did like that one. Season 9, that's when Clara started to get on my wick, right? Because
you as well.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Who viewers that will say the same thing, Stephen.
I mean, I'll slap you so hard you'll regenerate. I mean,
that was a terrible line. Yeah,
who are you talking to?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then she's begging for his help like a couple of episodes later. I'm just like, okay. Anywho, yeah, so it got quite dark, and then we had Missy, and I was like, right, okay, Missy, okay, right. I think Michelle Gomez is a good actor. She's a good actress.
Wonderful actor,
yeah. Master.
Wasted in Doctor Who, though, I'm afraid.
No, not. I wouldn't have said Master, right? Season 9 was absolutely a nightmare. Like, I hated series 9. Like, I think the only good part of that was the Zygon 2-parter, and then maybe Heaven Sent with Capaldi's on his own. And then the thing I really don't like about Moffat is that he killed off Clara, and then like a couple of episodes later he brings her back.
Yeah,
that was just wasted. I think Clara should have left at Last Christmas when she aged. Because I thought that was a nice bookend, because they kind of twisted it around, because when she was with the 11th Doctor in his last episode, he aged in the Cracker. And then in the last Christmas, they twisted it around and she was old, and, he helped her with the Cracker. And I thought, that's a nice wee, turn around. But then she decided to stay, and we had her for another series, and God help us. Series 9 was mess. I kind of mostly deleted most of that from my memory. Series 10, we had a couple of Christmas specials in between that. Vaguely remember the one with River Song, which was meant to be Stephen Moffat's last one.
That was. Do you mean the Husbands of River Song? That one.
The Husbands of River Song, yeah, that was meant to be Stephen Moffat's last one. But then Chibnall just wanted to go and do Broadchurch for a final season, so we got another season with Moffat instead. So we got series 10, kicked off with the return of Doctor Mysterio, which was crap, which was the superhero one. And then series 10, there was bits of it I liked. I think the Missy kind of potentially being good. So maybe a quite good twist. Kind of an alright storyline finally, but I think the last 2 episodes with Peter Capaldi and the Mondasian Cyberman was pretty good. Shoehorning the Master into it as well. Okay. Maybe too much, maybe?
Yeah, why was that? What was that about? Why was that there?
Fan service.
I think so. It didn't, it's just it didn't need to be there. And if you were going to do that, why did you need Michelle? I mean, again, it was just I can't stand stuff like that. Doing things because you can do. That's why I say it's like a very bad New Adventures novel, or even one of those Bog Fanish CDs. Really, that's what you do on those sorts of things because it's only a fan buying it. But I just thought. Oh, boring. I can't remember the episodes really because I got so bored.
Yeah, and then we get up to Whittaker, and then announced that she's going, Chibnall's going, and I was like, right, thank God, right. It was announced that RTD's coming back. Quite a lot of fans are, yay, well done.
Yeah, there were a lot of people that were actually quite excited about it, myself included at the time. I remember thinking, although it died down very, very quickly within a couple of months, I was like, oh, okay, let's just think about this. But at the time, I'm thinking, right, they've brought him in because they know something's wrong, and they've told him to do it like he did it in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. How wrong I was.
Yeah, Mike was pretty much the same. And I said to him, maybe just wait a minute. He might come and just totally destroy it all. And he's a legacy as well. And it seems to have passed that way. Anyway, then we found out that obviously David Tennant and Catherine Tate were coming back for the 60th. And I was like, right, okay. Seen the set photos, and what's this? David Tennant's wearing a completely different costume. Right, he's got a new sonic screwdriver. Right, he's using Jodie Whittaker's TARDIS exterior. I thought, is he like the next Doctor? Because we had Ncuti Gatwa being announced, but it never said he was the 14th Doctor, though. So I was like, right, okay. Checked out the Jodie Whittaker's last episode. I tuned in for that. That was an absolute mess.
Was it?
You've got the Daleks, Cybermen, the Master. You've got Jodie Whittaker coming in and seeing sort of Ace and Tegan and acting like a sort of teenage girl who's just seen her ex in, school, and she runs away, Not really the Doctor, but there you go. She's socially awkward. It was just a mess.
It was a big order, that particular episode, because fans tend to forget that episode was supposed to be Doctor Who's commemoration of 100 years of the BBC and Doctor Who's role in it, which is why there were so many old faces packed into it. It was nothing to do with Whittaker. It was to do with the fact they were saluting the fact that the BBC was 100 years old. Yeah. I remember reading about it, saying there was going to be a special Doctor Who that would represent its role in 100 years of the BBC. Because when you think about it, the BBC's 100 years old. Doctor Who was coming up to 60. Quite an achievement.
Yeah. I don't know. It was all right. It wasn't fantastic. She regenerates. David Tennant comes in. I was like, yeah, okay. We'll check it out and we'll see how we go with the 60th, Find out it's going to be 3 of them. And I'm like, all right. Well, my expectations are pretty high because it is a 60th anniversary, and, you got to do something pretty big. It can't just be normal episodes,
Well, they didn't do that then, did they?
No. I mean, I don't know. I've never read the actual comic with Beat the Meat.
Oh, you've missed out.
So yeah, I don't even know where you can get it these days. To be honest,
You can get it still available in the Panini Fourth Doctor anthology. It's still available right now, which is where they take all the comic strips from the Iron Legion, the legendary Iron Legion from the first Doctor Who weekly magazine, onwards, and the Star Beast is in that. And it's well worth I think it's, was it £15, £20, something like that? I can't remember, but it's well worth looking at that one because it's all in there and they're cleaned up beautifully. And the comic strip is far superior to what appears on television.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Right, the 60th anniversary specials. Right, there's quite a lot of problems with it.
Okay, tell me what you think.
The Beat the Meep,
Yeah,
I think was superb. I think the animatronics and the CGI they did was fantastic. Everything around that, Jesus. What should we say? So the pronouns getting shoved into it about an alien. I was a bit like, right, okay. And then the ending.
Oh, nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
And then the ending part where they have Donna and Rose just let the meta crisis go because they're women. And
well, one wasn't. Let's make that very clear. One wasn't a woman. I want to make that very clear.
Male presenting Time Lord, talking down to the Doctor.
Stupid lines, yeah.
I mean, that would not be acceptable if it was a woman. It's a shame you're not a man anymore because he would have understood.
Yeah,
that would be all over the place, sexist. But if it's about a man, oh well.
It would be all over the place if it happened and the BBC didn't like it. You have to remember as well that episode caused a wave of fuss for weeks afterwards on the alternative channels, which the BBC's been effectively trying to close down since before they even started.
Yeah.
And they're all labelled all sorts of things, but they weren't having any of it. And even the press got hold of all this nonsense as well. But from me, it was noted by the general public because they didn't come back the week after. The Saturday after, the viewing figures went down. And then they went down the Saturday after.
Oh, yeah, they just keep going down. It doesn't stop. The week after, we have Wild Blue Yonder. We've got Isaac Newton, who's not white. Gay Doctor, because that was always obvious apparently, but he was trying to get. He apparently was in love with Rose, but then how's that obvious? Then he was gay back then, but don't know. Anyway, the giggle. We have the bi-generation thing going on, that just destroys the generation because the generation is basically the death of one Doctor. You saying goodbye to that Doctor, that's a death. And then we have a new birth with a new Doctor going forward. And that's the way it's supposed to happen, and it should always happen. The fact that we've got one Doctor still hanging about, just doing some gardening, at his home, in the background, retire the old white Doctor, because you're old and you need to go and look after your mental health, all right? It's just patronizing, He's the Doctor. He continues onwards. He deals with his stuff, right? He just continues to save the universe, right?
Well, the fact is, he's an alien. He doesn't have the same reactions, emotions, or whatever, if any emotions, that we do. Like, they seem to have forgotten that in the reboots, that he's not a human being. He's an alien.
Yeah, they keep making him more human. And it's apparently to be...
This current one is human. Let's face it, he's not a Time Lord. The current one is terrible.
Yeah, he's more human than ever, and he's always crying.
It's such a mistake to do. Very bad writing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's come down to writing or his acting, but
I think it all stems even from the writing. If the writer or the producer want to do something a certain way, then the actor has to follow. And I don't know if you've heard, but I've said on Who's Views before, I'd heard originally that Gatwa had wanted to play the Doctor in a different way and didn't want him as human as he has to do now, and he wanted him to be a little bit more alien. We didn't want him as emotional for one thing, and even his costume, he'd wanted the Doctor into something else. So and they came back and said, no, we don't see it going this way. So he had to follow them.
Yeah, I mean, he has no set costume, so in every episode he's wearing something completely different, which kind of doesn't. You can't fixate on sort of the silhouette of the Doctor.
And the clothes they put him in are awful as well.
Oh, they're not even Doctorish. They're just stuff you would have, some people walking down the street in. It's not even considered in a sort of a Doctorish sort of way that it used to be. But then, you've also got the over sort of sexualization of the Doctor, which is another issue. And you get all the honey, the babes, the crying.
To be fair, though, that has been there since the first series with Rose, and it's been played into each of them except Capaldi, who of course wouldn't have any of that because he knows who the Doctor is. And there was, I think I remember an interview with him when he was about to start production, saying, "No, there's none of that nonsense," or words to that effect. But the rest of them, they don't know who the Doctor is. So,
yeah. I don't know. It's just a sad time to think that this is what the people that are making it think this is what Doctor Who should be like.
Yeah.
And it's just not. He's meant to be an alien who goes through, travels through time and space. I mean, another problem with New Who is the fact that they have companions every season from like modern day Earth.
Right.
There's no like you go back to classic Who. There's like you've got Jamie, you've got Victoria, you've got Zoe from the future, you've got Stephen, from the future, you've got Vicky, you've got different people from all over the past, present, future. They're all spread out.
And aliens, you've got Romana, you've got Leela.
Yeah, so you've got aliens as well.
Adric.
Yeah, so there's all sort of about different dynamics. But then for 20 years, consistently, even into this new season, we're going to have someone from
the modern day,
potential day Earth. So
yeah, oh yeah, she's from 2025 Earth.
Yeah. So we're kind of tired now.
It is, isn't it? And the fact is as well, they've thrown millions at this series, and it's more, even though they spent millions and millions at this series, it is tired. It's more tired than I think it's ever looked in its run. It just doesn't show the money at all, and it just feels worn out.
Yeah, I think it needs a good rest. I think is the kindest way to say it. I mean, we're now just the last season was like the lowest average viewership for a Doctor Who season of all time.
Yes, yeah,
and it just screams out that people are tired of this, and we need to go away and have a break and come back. Maybe 5, 10, maybe 15 years down the line. Let's just go away, do some hard graft, and then come back and like bring it back to like what it used to be, which was like fantastic. I mean, even just last Christmas, you were going out, and I can remember back when Doctor Who came back in 2005, right up to maybe like 2010, 2012, there was merchandise everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
Every store you would go into, you'd go in like, Woolworths was still open. You'd go into all the supermarkets. You go to, Argos. Anywhere there's a toy store, there was Doctor Who. And then just last Christmas, you go out, there's nothing.
Nothing, no.
And that is just dreadful for like a Doctor Who, show.
Yeah, it certainly can't sustain the show, the lack of interest in the merchandise, because that's BBC Studios and they invest into the show, and it's no wonder that they needed a financial partner. Really, as we're starting to show on or we've been showing on Who's Views in headlines, they just don't have the money. Do you purchase merchandise, by the way?
I've never bought any of the DVDs from Jodie Whittaker onwards. I refuse to. I've got up to the end of Peter Capaldi.
Yeah. Well done, because it's a hard slog.
And although I've never actually went back and watched any of really Capaldi, to be honest, which is a shame. And then I've got all of Classic Who, and I'm just starting to build up the Blu-ray collection.
Yeah.
I've got trying to find sort of like books and all that sort of stuff. But any of the new stuff, I'm just
not interested.
Nah. I mean, they've got that new the War Games in colour coming out, and I'm just like, nah, not buying that. I've got the original.
I'd love to know how many people bought the Daleks in colour and the War Games in colour, because it's amazing how. I mean, I was one of those many people, I'm sure, that pre-ordered the Dalek in colour before it was on BBC 4, then watched it on BBC 4, couldn't watch it after the Benny Hill bit, immediately cancelled the order, and so didn't bother with the War Game one. And I couldn't get through the War Game in colour either, as you know, if you've seen the review. I just thought this dire stuff, and I don't think they'll be the big sellers they were expecting them to be, and it's such a shame because Doctor Who in colour has great potential.
Yeah, I think they should just colorize every single episode that they've got. Yeah, it might take a lot more money and it might take a lot more time, but you'll get a lot more people buying it.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think it's just ludicrous that you think young people these days can't sit and watch. Even if you don't have to watch the full 10-parter all in one go. You can watch a bit here, a bit there, a bit there.
Yeah. That's the brilliant thing about having 25-minute segments. I mean, the kids back then watched it over 10 weeks. My generation watched it when the videos came out, and you could do that then. I remember watching it all in one big Sunday, to be quite honest, and loving every minute of it because I was that fascinated with the War Games, having never seen it before.
Yeah, I mean it's a great story. I mean, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, is there some bits that were put in there to increase the runtime? Yeah, but is it crap? No. It actually increases the level of the story. You've got interesting characters that you can look at. And it's a fantastic final story for Patron.
Yeah.
And I would say go and watch the full 10-parter. Nothing wrong with it.
There's an awful lot of adults, I say adults, but an awful lot of people around associated with this show now that I find just absolutely patronizing towards the audience. They are assuming so much of an audience, and I think that's part of the reason why the audience has gone, and certainly why millions of fans have left the show. What's your take on that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it started with Jodie Whittaker and the white male gaze comment, and then it's kind of came
racist,
into.
By the way, that's racist, isn't it? What she said there, it's right. Yeah. I mean, it's all right to get at white men, especially white heterosexual men, especially, but try it with anybody else. Oh, you'll be hauled over the coals for it.
Oh, aye. And then there's the infamous touch grass, which is fantastic. Thanks, Shitty, for that.
Yeah, living on that one on this channel. Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's
just idiotic, the things that these people say to their fans. I mean, you get it in all the other ones. You get it in Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
Where they come out in droves and say, oh, you're all this, and this. And you're like, what? Just because I didn't like a certain thing that you did in a film or a TV show.
Yeah, they're very assumptive, aren't they, with their name calling and their accusations?
Yeah, and then they're surprised why half their fan base have just walked out the door.
Yeah. And then they're quite happy because of that fact to call us all names as well, which is not the way to. I mean, this is why you were talking there about giving the show a rest and then bringing it back. I don't think there's an audience for Doctor Who. I don't think these last few years will be forgiven by Doctor Who fans. I'm talking, all ages here. But I think a lot of fans walked away from the show and have not come back to the show. And I don't even know if they'd come back if it was rested for a while and then came back, because they've had some very harmful things thrown at them and being called names, even from certain members of the show. You're talking about a couple of them there, but we had some of them associated with proper Who that started calling names. No, you don't do that, especially when you are feeding off those fans for your income, even to this day. I'm not sure. I personally, I'm thinking it's had its day now. I think it's had 2 runs. The first run was more successful than the second run, arguably. I don't think it's going to get a third. And I know BBC Studios want it to have a third, but I'd be very surprised if it's ever as big as it was.
I don't know. It depends on a number of things. It depends when, if the Disney deal does go ahead with a third and maybe a potential fourth season, with whether it's Russell to give us at the centre of it, or whether they want Russell to go, or whether they get Shooty to stay, or Shooty goes and they get a new doctor. It depends how long they keep dragging it out, and if they can drag it out for another couple of years with more diminishing returns, that would leave more of a sour taste in people's mouths. If it ends pretty soon, you might be able to save some of it, but I think, quite a lot of people are pretty just like, nah, I'm done. And it depends how they bring it back. I mean, like, if they come back with, like, and they kind of apologize for some of the stuff that happened, and they kind of say, yeah, we messed up. We hold our hands up, and we'll kind of rectify it. And you see if I mean, it's like when you seen Series 1 coming back in 2005, your older fans from the original run, you kind of had a bit more, well, BBC were trying to, they were hacking it to death at that point, back in the 80s. So the BBC wanted it gone. Now they kind of want to hold on to it with dear life, because it's the only thing they can hold on to now. And I think they're just going to hold on for dear life forever until it's dead.
The whole problem with that is, I know what you're saying, but television has changed so much since 1989. I mean, back in the day, the BBC produced its own shows in-house at the BBC Television Centre in London. Now they don't. They've got nothing at all. Everything's farmed out to independents. Even Doctor Who has gone down that route now. Doctor Who is now not BBC Television, it's BBC Studios, and it's in partnership with Bad Wolf and Disney Plus, who are the distributors around the world, which was a deliberate move to get a streamer. They wanted it on streaming platforms. I think they've got this all wrong when it comes to Doctor Who. I really do. And the fact is now they are determined to keep it on that sort of level. They want it up there with Star Wars and Star Trek and all this sort of stuff, not realizing that it actually is, to be honest, let's face it. And because television's so different, nowadays they're going to have to look at all those elements as well to say, right, okay, BBC One will take Doctor Who anytime. I'm sure they will. That's fine. But one day BBC One won't be there, and they'll have to look at how they get it out to. It's a very strange landscape, and they've helped to create that. And when it comes to Doctor Who, does it have a place in all that? Can it fit that? Also, the other thing, Stephen, as you may have heard me saying before as well, is that when Doctor Who came back in 2005, it already had a very loyal fan base prepared to welcome it back to an extent. The majority of us, I think, were there to be able to say, welcome back. And they supported it. People like myself, especially, we were, loads of fans were all excited about it. We were going out talking about it. We were telling people about it. We were doing a lot of the publicity for the BBC. That's not going to happen the next time around.
Yeah, I know they've really bitten the hand that feeds them this time, and I think they're going to feel the pain for that in the future. I think they're going to have to there'll be an uphill battle, I think, if they do try and bring it back next time. Because I think there'll be some people that would give it a go, but I think there's going to be a vast majority of the people that are going to be like, oh, do you remember that thing like 15 years ago that was absolutely terrible? Let's not watch that. And there will always be that sort of memory, and it's going to be, they will have an uphill battle trying to make people think it's good. So
the original series 63 to 89 came back and was hugely successful, because, as I say, a hell of a lot of the fan base stayed around for 15 years. Even the 1996 thing that made a little dent for a little while was hugely popular in the UK, hugely popular for that one night, and then it was forgotten again to an extent. But the fans were always there for it, and as I say, we played our role in helping it make it successful in 2005 onwards. There was great affection from the British public, though, to Doctor Who, even though it had been off the air for all that time. Do you think that affection is still there now?
I have sort of nostalgic thoughts. Like when Doctor Who was good, when it was, an adventure, there was monsters, there was traveling about in time and space. Um, you know, the politics wasn't as in your face. It was just fun. It was escapism, and yeah, there was some sort of problems with it. You could go, okay, okay, but with that, if it did come back, I don't know. I would need to hear what they're doing in the production and who's running it,
But do
and
you think the
what
public,
kind
do
of
you
stuff
think the
they're
great
doing.
British public would be there for it? Not fans, the public. Do you think because they were there, they were sleeping giants, but they were there. The reason it came back and people were, because people of my age would come along. Doctor Who, I grew up with that and it was brilliant. I remember John Pertwee, I remember Tom Baker. It was fantastic. And it was those years of Pertwee and Baker that people would remember as they grew up that drew them. Do you think there's an equivalent today so that if the series finishes and comes off the air now and it's off for 5, 6, 10, whatever years, do you think the generations around today in Britain today would have an affection to make it popular again?
I think that sort of era for sort of the new Who fans of the sort of current era would be sort of 2005 up to, I don't know, maybe when Matt Smith left, 2013 ish, and maybe when they're a bit older and they've got their own kids and they might think, oh, Doctor Who's coming back. I remember when I used to watch it when David Tennant was the Doctor. It was pretty good. Maybe we should just check it out and see what it's like. And they might check it out, and if it's crap, then they won't watch it again. But I don't know. You've got to kind of. I think that's the thing that Russell did when he brought it back in 2005. He catered to sort of the general audience. So I don't know. It depends where. Most of that kind of era would be sort of the 2005 to 2013. The people that liked that sort of era might consider sitting down and watching, because they'll have fond memories of when Doctor Who was pretty good for them, and they might not be so keen with. Because I know quite a lot of people that are not keen with the Jodie Whittaker era and this era, and
there's millions.
Might think,
they're not watching the show. We proved that in our ratings analysis here on the channel. They're not watching. The British public have walked from the show. They've gone.
Yeah, and that's a big testament to how bad the rating's been over the last 7, maybe 8, nearly 10 years. It's just the slog of trying to get through it, and even Peter Capaldi tried his best, but
he did.
Some of that was just terrible. And
you could see Capaldi working on screen, couldn't you, to make things look Doctor Who-ish? Yeah, because he knows what Doctor Who is. It's no wonder that he doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Can't blame him. I cannot blame him.
Yeah, they keep asking him to come back, and he keeps saying no.
I think that's for audios more than television.
Yeah. And I think good on him. Just don't do it.
Why would he want to? I mean, he's been there, he's done that, and it wasn't the way he wanted it done. And then he was treated shabbily. So why would you go back?
No. I think Chris Eccleston's went back, but I think he's just doing it just to get the money because he's got bills to pay. So.
Well, probably. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not at all. I haven't heard any of. I don't listen to the audios. There's too many of them. They're all convoluted and they're all very fanboyish. I can't be done with it all. References to something that happened in 1964. Oh, give over. Can't be done with all that. I'm not that sort of fan. I don't get that thrill that a lot of fans do. But I think yeah. Do you get these audio things?
I bought a few, but then it's trying to figure out where to start because there's so many now. I started with the monthly range and I kind of got some of them, but then they're all sort of audio. Like you can't get any CDs now. You've got to buy them. It's like a download.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got some of them. I've got some of like Early McGann, sort of Colin Baker, Peter Davison, and Sylvester McCoy. Yeah. I've got some of them, but I don't know.
You're not a regular.
No. There's so many now that I mean, it costs a fortune. Like some of them are like box sets like 30 odd quid, and I'm like,
Yeah, I've heard it's
no,
shocking how much these things are. That's a lot of money in this day and age as well for whatever you're getting there. And
yeah,
of course, I believe that a lot of them are. I've gone down the route that the TV show's gone down. So you're going to get a political, an extreme left wing political ideological lecture in some of
mm.
them as well. That you are a nasty person unless you do what we tell you.
Oh yeah. I think they've done like about was it 5 or 10 box sets of River now?
Whatever
I'm not
for.
listening to that. And
Oh,
they've got they started doing the Fugitive Doctor as well, which I'm not listening to. And
yeah, but that was just hilarious what that came about. A minority of people who love that, wherever that is,
mm,
screaming on Twitter, and they listened. It's not going to make them any money. Let's face it. It's not going to run off the shelves, is it? It's not the next big thing. It's ridiculous.
no. I'd rather listen to McGann. I think. I think maybe I was to go Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, McCoy, and McGann. I think that's probably the only thing I'd probably listen to. And then after that, maybe a bit of Eccleston. I think Eccleston's alright.
Again, it's all proper Doctor Who's, and yet it's so sad that they've shoehorned in all this nonsense into some of the original Doctor stories, and they've tried to tie it all up into and make it tie in with the reboot version, because they're all pals as well, aren't they? As well, so they all think they're clever, and I just find it consistently boring.
Yeah, they've done a lot of those old classic Doctors, new monsters, and they kind of went
All right,
like that. And I can't be bothered with that. No.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
No, just leave it. Just leave them. Just
Yeah.
create new stories and fight the Daleks or Cybermen or something.
You see, that's even what the TV show's not doing. Talking of that, though, so as we're recording, we're at the cusp of the new series, series 2 of RTD 2 and Disney Who coming back. Are you going to be watching that?
Well, I'm forced to. I've got to do a podcast.
All right. Okay.
If I wasn't doing a podcast, I would be out after last season. The end of last season was so horrible that was so terrible. The end of last season was so disappointing. Yeah. But I'm doing my Doctor Who podcast, so I kind of have to. I'm still
just going to watch for review purposes.
Review purposes, yeah. I'm still
what we're doing, really, yeah.
I'm still questioning whether I will review the Juno Dawson episode, though. That one is still up in the air. I don't know whether I should boycott that one or not.
It's an option. It is an option, really, because I can't believe the hypocrisy. Well, actually, I can. What am I saying? I can believe the hypocrisy of RTD, because he turns a blind eye to the inconvenient truths, doesn't he? As long as it suits his agenda. And Juno Dawson is a known homophobe, and plays victim all the time. But frankly, shocked. I am absolutely shocked and disgusted that he's been hired to write an episode. I'm really not impressed by that at all, personally.
Now, it just goes to show that he will just hire anyone to do a virtue signal, and he's just ignoring the actual reality that's staring him in the face, that what this person has said.
And, totally. Totally ignoring it.
And he's a gay man himself, and it's just...
Yeah, but it's an awful lot of this. This is what annoys me about this whole thing. I mean, no longer, I think, I say this to people and they just shoot me down on social media, or they go, pardon, if it's in real life, what? We're no longer one big sparkly camp community. That's gone. Those days are gone. You've got LGB, and then you've got the TQ cult, as I call it. And I cannot believe how many same-sex attracted men and women have been duped by this nonsense. Excellent propaganda, which they believed. And yet they're supporting homophobia. They're supporting... and when they say to us, like RTD did at those rants a few years ago at the awards ceremonies, he says, you've got to stay together because they'll come after us. If they go after that group, they're going to come after us. Well, excuse me, they already have come after us because they've rewritten same-sex attracted history. They've shoehorned in certain individuals that weren't there. Those certain individuals weren't even trans. There was same-sex attracted men in drag and all this, rewriting everything, enforcing language, claiming all sorts, telling same-sex attracted people they should be dating these people, which is heterosexuality. Makes me very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, it's a weird place we've landed in the world today. Some of the stuff in that book that Juno has written is some of the stuff we would be thinking, like if me and Mike were discussing it, we were like, that sort of stuff. We were like, if we were in school and we read that, we'd be like, have you seen this? This is really messed up. Like, have you seen this? If everyone would be going around going, have you seen this? What's this?
Yeah.
And we're like, what happened to the adults? Where have they gone? Where have you gone? What happened?
Where is the actual common sense? Everybody's terrified. That's what it is, because these alleged activists, and they're not activists, but these alleged activists have basically got it into everybody's heads over the last 20 years that if you do not do this or that, you are an istophobe or a not. And people are so worried now about being called those things. And I don't know why. Get on with this. You've got to stand for truth and you've got to stand for common sense. And if somebody wants to name call you, more fool them. Maybe it's just me, Stephen, because I'm used to it now. I've had years of all this, being called all sorts of things for the fact that I will stand up for truth and common sense. It's very odd, but it's a shame that it's all shoehorned into Doctor Who as well. Who'd have thought it? I certainly never thought in 2004, when I was looking forward to this thing coming back, I never dreamt that this show would lead to where it is. Never dreamt that at all. It's such a shame.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was the last chance for the fans to come back together, because everyone was hoping that Russell would come back and we'd all come back and join up together and go, right, this is Doctor Who again. And he dropped the ball. Like, I don't know what's happened to the guy. Like, I don't know if it's something to do with his partner passing away a few years ago or something.
No idea.
But he just went off on one.
Well, maybe he was always like this, and because he's become more powerful, Stephen, in the industry now. Remember, don't forget, on Headlines last year, we actually put that interview out with him, which said, "Who's going to stop him?"
No one.
That's an egotistical claim, if there ever was one. Because nobody around him's challenged him. Let's face it, you can see it in Doctor Who.
Yeah, but then I don't know if Disney's got the big enough clout to say.
Well, Disney has its own problems. Come on. The fact is, no, it doesn't. Doctor Who is still a BBC product. It's not. It's not owned by Disney. It's not owned by Disney and never will be. It's a Doctor Who product. It's a BBC product. It's British. The BBC are never going to sell Doctor Who because they know at some point it earns them money.
Yeah.
So Disney have got. Okay, yes, Disney have piled in millions for this series, and yes, they are execs on it if you like, but they can walk away. The BBC can walk away at any time, get a different outlook on it. I can't see Disney having much to do with this in the future.
No, because it's not done anything good for them. Like, they keep saying that it's top 5 or something of Disney Plus, but then if you zoom out and you look at it like, sort of streaming in general, like in the Nielsen's charts and all that sort of stuff, it didn't even chart once. The only thing that was for Disney Plus was like Bluey and The Acolyte.
Yeah. And Bluey isn't one of their own either.
No.
It might have done well with views on the first showing, but the people are looking at the wrong thing now. This is where propaganda comes from through, actually, loud and clear. It was never meant to do that. It was meant to bring subscribers to the channel.
Yeah, and which they never got any.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't. And that's the thing, So that's, at some point they're going to have, everybody has to have a business hat on to say, right, okay, we had this thing here. We thought we were going to get XXX amount of subscribers through this. What happened to its fan base? Why didn't they sign up to us? Why didn't they watch it? And the other thing, why did people cancel? After, those that came on board, did they stay?
No. I've only got Disney Plus for the kids, basically. Because they watch like Bluey and sort of all the Disney stuff and that sort of stuff. But then we don't get it on Disney Plus here. We've got the BBC iPlayer. So yeah, I mean, they get money from us, but it's it doesn't do much for them, to be honest. But then you got all the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff, but I don't know. Maybe some people are just not really into that sort of stuff, and maybe they looked at Doctor Who.
It's not my sort of thing. I've seen a lot of the Star Wars stuff, and a lot of it's been miss for me, really. Some of it's been and a lot of it's just I don't know. I mean, a lot of Star Wars. Well, I've seen Star Wars fans enjoying it all. Fantastic, that's great. But the Marvel stuff, I'm not into any of that at all. I am sick and tired of superheroes. I am up to here with them. Please, no more. We've got Superman coming this year. I can't be bothered with it. I'm not going to see that. Looks terrible. It's got the blooming dog in it. Oh, give over. Please, a flying dog.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't like him in the comics. Never mind in the blooming films.
I don't know. That film looks odd.
Wow.
I think they're kind of shoehorning too much stuff into the first Superman movie and start up the new sort of extended universe. And give up to them, I think.
There's also this assumption everybody knows who they are. I mean, it's obviously for diehard American comic fans who know this stuff and love this stuff. I'm British. I didn't grow up with it the same way. I don't know who a lot of these people are. This is my problem with it. So it alienates me. So why would I go and pay to go and see it? I'm sick of superheroes. Fed up with them.
It has got to that sort of point now that's kind of overkill.
Well, I was just getting into it all with the Zack Snyder stuff. And then it all gets changed and you're told you're rebooting it again. What is Hollywood's obsession with rebooting things every 4 years? It gets so boring. And all this multiverse stuff, I can't be done with any of that either. Please, just give over.
Yeah. Marvel's looking pretty tired. Star Wars is basically dead, basically.
Right.
The movie's crashed and burned with that horrendous sequel trilogy that they were in.
Oh, they were terrible. Absolutely terrible. I never finished them, actually, Stephen. Did you? Did you watch all three?
I watched the first one, The Force Awakens, and I thought it's basically A New Hope, but just with just a new look of paint. And then the lassie in it, I can't remember her name, Ray, I think it was.
Yeah.
She was really overpowered, and I was like, I hope they explain that in the next one. The next one was absolutely crap.
How boring was that one? What was that called?
The Last Jedi, where they ruined Luke Skywalker for me.
And Leia.
And Leia, yeah. Flying through space.
And they got rid of Han Solo in the first one.
Yeah.
All I wanted from those films was Luke, Leia, Han, Chewbacca, the droids, and possibly Lando in the Millennium Falcon having an adventure. Didn't get that. So boring.
No. And then after The Last Jedi, I walked out and never watched any other ones.
I was the same. So you never saw the last one either, whatever that was called. Yeah, I never saw it either.
The Rise of Skywalker, I believe.
Oh, right. Makes no sense considering there were no Skywalkers in it.
No.
Such a shame. They had so much potential, didn't they? And they got, again, these alleged creatives get it wrong because they're so busy thinking, oh, I'm going to get these fanboys. They're going to be taught a lesson. And then they wonder why things are a flop. Look at the Indiana Jones movie. What a massive flop that was.
I've never seen it, so I don't know.
No, neither have I. I didn't fancy it at all. I just thought, no. But Harrison took the money and ran, so good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him at that age. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Well,
yeah, because he was in... Sorry?
Go on. No, go on.
Oh, yeah, because I was just about to say he was in that new Captain America film that we just reviewed, so...
Oh, well, that's nothing I'm interested in either. I think apparently that's a flop as well, isn't it?
It was kind of average.
Was it average?
I think Harrison took the money and ran.
Of course he did. He's not daft.
Oh, I paid a lot of money for that, so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's more average. So Marvel films have just kind of turned into sort of average. I think the last probably good one was probably the last Spider-Man movie. which was the Far From Home. I can't remember. Yeah, I don't know. But this kind of just evened out into sort of averageness because there's so many of them now, and there's so many TV shows that you just think it just kind of went flatlined, and
there's
no one's
nothing
interested.
original anymore. It's all a remake of something or a sequel to something or based on something. You know, that's what they're playing on, and yet they've alienated the fan bases left, right, and center. So they're not going to come for these things. I think the big mistake for them all to do in the industry was creating the streaming platforms. Because, you know, when I was a kid, you had 4 channels. In our country, you had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and Channel 4. And the beauty of that was the variety on each channel. So you would get more British input than we get today. You know, output rather. You get so many dramas, comedy shows, news items, children's television, a lot of in-house produced things at the BBC continually, right? Including Doctor Who, obviously. But then you get the odd American show or Australian show or where it was going to be from different producers, you know, different businesses, companies. Now they're trying to say, right, we want everything that's produced by us on this channel. So everything that's produced by Disney, we want on that channel. Everything that we want from Paramount is on that channel. Everything we want from whoever is on that channel. Where's the variety in that? There's no variety at all. And that's what we've lost. We've lost that ability to pick and choose for ourselves, and that's why, you know, you have to pay for that channel to get that show, and but your other show is on there, so you have to get that, you have to pay for that. So it's very expensive, and they haven't done it right. So it's an interesting subject to look at, but I just think it's a load of old nonsense, really.
Yeah, I think because Endgame was the biggest sort of the Avengers movie,
right?
Which was like the culmination of like 20, nearly 20 movies or something over like 10 years.
Right.
And that was the biggest culmination. And I think after that, they should have had a break.
I don't understand why are these people so self-aware though, Stephen? Oh, we've done 20 years of this. It's time we finish it off now, and we'll kill off the characters, and we'll do this, and we'll do that. Why are they so? Why can't they just have them all? Just you know, why do they have to go down that route? Why can't they just have them all floating around and, you know, ready to come back at any time? I just don't get it. I think these people are so ridiculous when it comes to this. I mean, all this sort of, what do they call it with Marvel? Phase something, or is that right?
Yeah, I believe we're about to go into phase 6.
What the hell's that about? Who cares? Just make a bloody film.
Yeah, basically.
It's highly pretentious, and that's what the industry is about now. It's not about entertaining anymore. It's about, you know, all these people who are so far up their bottoms. It's unbelievable. And they've forgotten that the most important thing is the audience and making something that's accessible to anybody, no matter what their own personal beliefs are. And they've completely forgotten that. It's no wonder it's all trouble.
Well, if you look at the new Captain America film with the new Captain America, to go into it, you've got to remember a film from 2008. You've got to remember a film from, what was it, like 2019, the plot of that as well. And you've got to remember a TV show plot from 2021.
Oh, God. No wonder it's ridiculously stupid. I mean, the not-we's, people like me, are not going to go and see that if you've got to have all that knowledge. I mean, what is the point? That's not a date movie. That's a sad anoraks movie, a minority sad anorak movie at that, you know, because, you know, their fandom has walked away as well. Stupid. These people are stupid, everybody. They're utterly in the wrong jobs. In the wrong jobs.
Yeah.
Unbelievably stupid. You can't.
I mean, for a superhero movie, you just want to go in and kind of understand the plot of that film, and that's it.
I'd rather watch the first Christopher Reeve Superman the movie than any of the nonsense that's around today, because you don't need to know anything. There it is in the plot. Go and watch it. You know,
well, I would extend that to the first 2 and then leave it there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And yet they've done the same with Doctor Who. They seem to assume that everybody, again, it's now for a minority. So, you know, I didn't watch the Chibnall era. I come back giving the Shooty Gatwa era a hearing. Absolute nonsense, I've now decided. But then all this stuff about orphans and whatever it was, adoptions, that alienated me. I was like, what's he talking about? What's going on? What's this? And that apparently goes back to a Jodie Whittaker. So it's not very good, because your average audience member, the not wees, are going to come in, as they have done, has proven, say, no, I don't understand this, don't like it, don't know what's going on, switch off.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you just alienated all the hardcore fans, especially with The Timeless Child. Like, I mean, you really nuked it with that one. And then Russell's doubled down on it as well, so then there's no way out.
Yeah, that stuff just needs to be forgotten in the future. But when you've got cliquey attitude, or people that are pals, like you've got with the three who've ruled over the last 20 years, or that clique, they're not going to do that. It's pretty obvious. But all that's, I mean, it's very easy just to forget it and never talk about it, because nobody was watching. Nobody knows.
No. Yeah, it's a lot of people just phased out, and yeah, good luck to them. They're really going to have to try and rewrite the ship somehow, and I don't know how they're going to do it.
Just forget it. You don't need to rewrite anything. You just start again. Don't need to do it. You don't need to have any reference to this version of Doctor Who at all. You just have the Doctor, the TARDIS, the Daleks, off you go. That's it. It would be easy to do, because you don't hark back to the past. That's it. You don't need to talk about it at all. It doesn't have to be a continuation. Just forget it.
Yeah, could do.
It's simple. And it's something that would need to be done if you're going to bring back millions of people.
Yeah, it kind of needs to start with a fresh slate. Because it's kind of like what Russell said he said that obviously Classic Who had a lot of sort of history and baggage with it. So you want to start with a clean slate. So using his logic, you would do that with just forget all his stuff and just, carry on with a new Doctor.
It's not rocket science, pun intended. Stephen, thank you so much. I mean, we've gone over our time. I've kept you long enough. It's wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us joining me on Who's Views. Really pleased to see you. And thank you for the chat. And I hope it was cathartic for you as well.
That's right.
Yeah. Listen, thank you so much for watching. And please leave us a comment. Give us a thumbs up. You know what you've got to do there. And also subscribe to the channel. Great to welcome you to all our shows here on Who's Views. If you have already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you are still subscribed to the channel, because yes, I'm still getting those emails saying, "Ooh, I had to resubscribe." Algorithms on this platform, very bizarre. From Stephen and myself, thank you for joining us. I'll be seeing you again very shortly here on Who's Views. If you want to get in touch, by the way, you can do. If you want to come and do what Stephen has done and take part, you can get in touch with me at whosviews1@gmail.com. That's what he did. whosviews1@gmail.com. Give me an email. Let me know that you want to come on the show. We'll sort something out. Again, Stephen, thanks very much for joining me. Great to talk to you. From us, look after yourselves, everybody. We'll see you again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.